Hello, good evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Welcome to North West Tonight. Our top story this evening, as you've been hearing, 2-year-old Awab Ishak died because of mould in his family's flat. His parents said that they had pleaded for help.
We shouted out as loudly as we could, but despite making all those efforts, every night we would be coming back to the same problem.
A senior government minister says it beggars belief that the head of Rochdale Borough-wide Housing is still in a job. Also tonight, the controversy over smart motorways. Are the authorities using a legal loophole to escape responsibility for deaths? Rewilding Ennerdale will look at a huge new nature reserve opening up in the Lake District.
Simon says 1, 2.
1, 2.
How Children in Need is helping this Manchester boxing gym to punch above its weight. And for the final time,
and after wet and windy weather over the past 24 hours, tomorrow some of us catch a bit of a breather. I'll be back with all the details.
how in the UK in 2020 does a 2-year-old child die from exposure to mould in his home? Well, that was the question from the Rochdale coroner today. She said the death of Awab Ishak should be a defining moment for the UK housing sector. The Ishak family's landlords said that they were devastated by Awab's death and admitted that they had got things badly wrong. Let's go live to Phil McCann. He was at today's hearing. He joins us now live from there. Phil.
Roger, today Awab's parents said outside this coroner's court that their son's death had changed their lives forever. There was some criticism of the NHS for not sharing their concerns about Awab's living conditions and for giving the family bad advice on the night that he died. But the family home was full of mould, and the blame for that was put squarely on the social landlord that housed them.
This is the damp and mould that killed a 2-year-old. Awab's family had been complaining about it for 3 years. His dad was told to paint over it, which he did. But that wasn't enough to stop Awab developing a lung condition which is extremely rare in young people. Today a coroner found that he only developed that condition because he'd been exposed to the mould and damp in his home for his whole short life.
The past 2 years have been gruelling. When Awab died, our lives changed forever. We cannot tell you how many health professionals we've cried in front of, and Rochdale Borough Housing staff we have pleaded to, expressing concern for the conditions ourselves and Awab have been living in.
This block in Rochdale is where Awab's family had been living ever since his dad moved to the UK from Sudan in 2016.
The coroner found the Ishak family home here wasn't equipped for day-to-day living. That's despite the fact that Rochdale Borough-wide Housing had previously blamed the family's lifestyle on the mould, which eventually killed their son.
The inquest heard that the mould and damp was there because of bad ventilation, not the family's lifestyle. A legal claim meant no remedial action was taken. The coroner said it should have been. Today, with Awab's mother watching on, along with his father, here on the right, Coroner Joanne Kersley asked, how in the UK in 2020 does a 2-year-old child die from exposure to mould in his home? Awab's family think part of the answer may be racism.
We have no doubt at all that we were treated this way because we are not from the country and less aware of how the systems in the UK work. Rochdale Borough-wide Housing, we have a message for you. Stop discriminating, stop being racist, stop providing unfair treatment to people coming from abroad who are refugees or asylum seekers.
In response, Rochdale Borough-wide Housing says it's a community-owned organisation which supports the diverse communities of Rochdale. But are the Ishaks alone? In the block where they live today, I spoke to one woman who didn't want to appear on camera but sent me these photos of the mould in her flat. She says she's been raising it with Rochdale Borough-wide for years too. The coroner said today that Awab's death needs to be a wake-up call. Their landlord agreed.
Well, today the chief executive of that landlord, Rochdale Borough-wide Homes, said that he is truly devastated about Awab's death and the things that he said they got wrong. He said, "We must make sure this can never happen again. Awab's death," he said, "needs to be a wake-up call for everyone in housing, social care and health." He also pointed out that the coroner recognised changes that they've made to their procedures, to their IT, to their communications and to their training. That is a statement from the Chief Executive of Rochdale Borough-wide Housing, whose name is Gareth Swarbrick. Today, unusually, the Housing Secretary, Michael Gove, called for him to stand down.
Well, it seems to me inconceivable that the chief executive of a housing association, earning north of £150,000, who's responsible for decent homes in Rochdale, the fact that this case was raised by Awaz's father years ago, the fact that he had to get a solicitor on the case in order to try to make sure that he and his family were living in a decent home, the fact that they did nothing and hid behind procedure, I mean, honestly, it beggars belief that this guy is still in office. He's coming here in order to explain to me why it was that this tragedy was allowed to happen.
And to underline the importance, the significance of Awab's case, I'll just read you one other thing that the coroner said today. She said that there is little doubt the tragic death of Awab will and should be a defining moment for the housing sector.
Phil, thank you very much indeed. Phil McCann there. Now, the parents of a former soldier who took his own life have called on the Army and the NHS to do more to tackle mental health problems among veterans. Ben Riches was found dead in his Fleetwood home in 2019. He'd suffered from depression and alcohol problems following his return from Iraq. In a moment, we're going to hear from the Veterans Minister, Johnny Mercer, but first, Ian Haslam has been talking to Ben's parents, to Carolyn and Kevin.
I think it was the roadside bomb first, that was in Iraq.
Yeah, the roadside bomb
that
ultimately led to his hearing loss. He was medically discharged because his hearing was below the standard.
Along with a loss of self-worth after leaving the army, Ben Riches had shown signs of post-traumatic stress disorder. His parents say he began using alcohol as a coping mechanism and his mental health went into decline.
The incident where he shot somebody at such a young age, he was 18 years old.
He felt guilty. He started thinking of the person that he shot as being somebody's father, and it preyed heavily on his mind.
His mum came across him one night, sleepwalking into the bathroom, happened on several occasions, and he was just muttering, "I've got to wash the blood off my hands, I've got to wash the blood off my hands." And he was running the tap as hot as he could.
He didn't talk a lot about Afghanistan, apart from to say that Iraq was a walk in the park in comparison.
In comparison, yeah.
Part of Ben didn't come back from Afghanistan.
Just a few weeks before his death, Ben had been found drunk in the sea by police and had attempted self-harm while being taken to Blackpool Victoria Hospital. But the consultant psychiatrist there didn't think he had the power to detain him under the Mental Health Act, and Ben returned home.
I mean, how can someone go into the sea, get pulled out by the air helicopter, be taken to the hospital as a place of safety, and then be discharged soaking wet with a leaflet? How can they say he's not suicidal?
The coroner said that as Ben was clearly very distressed, a considerably more assertive engagement should have been made. How does that make you feel?
There was two clear failures. One was where a doctor said he needed referring, and the doctor failed to put a referral through. The other was where a referral was put through, however it was sent down a redundant email system and never received, and that was a final referral where Ben had engaged in it, he'd accepted he needed help. If he'd received that help, I don't think you'd be here tonight. I think Ben would be here still.
Yeah, he had no help from the mental health services whatsoever.
The coroner stated that Lancashire and South Cumbria NHS Foundation Trust have since improved their systems in some areas and acknowledged they need to do more to address the needs of veterans.
There needs to be red flags in place. As soon as medical or health services realise that somebody's a veteran, in my mind, there should immediately be a red flag goes up.
We just want reform, we want changes, we want it recognising the size of the problem.
It's bigger than just Ben in our eyes. There's a whole military community out there that are suffering.
Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight, Garstang.
Kevin and Carolyn Riches there talking about their son Ben. Lancashire and South Cumbria NHS Trust told us that they now fast-track requests for help with mental health problems from veterans. The Veterans Minister, Johnny Mercer, told me that the rate of suicide among those who've served is lower than among a comparable cohort who've not been in the military. But he said earlier that the data needs to be better.
I think it's a fair criticism to say that we haven't been particularly good as a government on collecting data on veterans over many years, really, until the Office of Veterans Affairs was established. So I think it is a fair criticism to say the data isn't where it should be, but we do have a fairly good idea from a number of different studies that have been done into suicide, what the rate is, and every one is it's a tragedy for the individual, for their friends and family, and for the military as an institution.
The government said it was going to come out with this 10-year review looking back over the last decade. That was due out this year. It's now going to be next year. Is that nearly done?
Yes, it is. So the one you're talking about is the Manchester University one that looks back over 10 years and works with the ONS to establish who took their own life. We're also doing a study that looks at what happened in the 12 months prior to a veteran taking their own life as well. So work is going on, and we will always ask the question if there's anything we could or should have done better in this space, because each one of these is terrible, and we will do everything we can and to prevent these. And indeed, when I was minister in the Ministry of Defence, I met every next of kin and every family who is affected by suicide, so I could personally try and understand these issues in greater detail, and obviously overlay that on my own personal experiences as well. And
just explain your own experience, because obviously you served in the military. Obviously now you have a very unique position in the job that you're in as the Veterans Minister.
Oh look, this is my driving reason for going into politics, is because I was deeply unhappy with the level of veterans care that this country offered, particularly from government level. I was in Afghanistan in 2006, 8 to 9 and 2010 as well. Friends of mine have taken their own life, and I was determined to change how government does veterans care. We've been lucky enough to have some fantastic military charities in this country who've done so much work in this space, but ultimately, as the picture change and giving to charities goes down, we have to provide this service. Government has a duty to look after her veterans, and I'm determined to see that through in the Office of Veterans Affairs. And politicians are very good at promises to veterans, and they have been over many years now, from before I was even born. And my job is to make sure that we follow through on those promises, and that not that we mark our own homework, but that it feels like the best country in the world to be a veteran. And until we do more to tackle suicide, then we've got a lot more work to do.
Johnny Mercer, thank you for talking to us. Now, prison, once called the worst in Britain, has undergone a massive transformation. That's according to its latest report. HMP Liverpool was said to be the worst that inspectors had ever seen when they visited 5 years ago, with squalid conditions. Their latest visit found a well-ordered jail with a caring culture. A man accused of assaulting Sir Ian Duncan Smith with a traffic cone outside last year's Conservative Party conference in Manchester has been cleared. The judge said the evidence, which identified Elliot Boville as the culprit, was weak. The trial of co-defendants Radical Haslam and Ruth Wood continues. Both deny using threatening, abusive or insulting words and behaviour. There's more of those stories and others on the BBC News website, including the latest on the Lucy Letby murder trial. Doctors told the court today that they battled for 45 minutes to save one of her alleged victims. She denies the charges. The Isle of Man's recently sacked health minister has accused political members of his former department of behavioural issues, something that they refute. And plans for a treetop adventure park in Lancashire could soon get the go-ahead. It'll cost £200,000. All that bbc.co.uk/news. Smart motorways. We've all seen them. No hard shoulders, variable speed limits, safe stopping areas. They were supposed to be the answer to congestion. Instead, they have become hugely controversial. A number of deaths have been blamed directly on that lack of a hard shoulder. But any legal action against National Highways has been blocked because it doesn't have any liability. And now the lawyer, known as Mr. Loophole, says that that loophole should be closed. Phil Cunliffe reports.
The North West Smart Motorway network is growing, with further stretches of the M6 and M56 under construction. But also growing is a groundswell of opposition from people and organisations who say that they are death traps because they don't have a hard shoulder.
I don't know a motorist, I've never spoken to a motorist who isn't petrified about breaking down on an all-lane running motorway because there's nowhere for you to go.
Nick Freeman is a leading North West criminal defence lawyer. He says National Highways, who run the motorways on behalf of the government, can dodge punishment for fatalities because of a loophole in current legislation.
Highways England, as they were then, now National Highways, do not owe a duty of care to the motorist. So there's a very simple solution. Let's change the law, let's make it a mandatory requirement so that Highways England, National Highways, is responsible for the motorist. So when they have technology that fails, there's someone who's accountable. When you make people responsible, they tend to take more care.
In June 2019, Jason Mercer died on the M1 when a lorry ploughed into him while stationary. The coroner said a lack of hard shoulder was partly to blame. His wife, Claire, tried to bring a case of corporate manslaughter against National Highways, but it was thrown out by the Crown Prosecution Service.
They basically said there was only 3 instances in which National Highways owed a duty of care to anybody using the motorway. If you're a prisoner being transported, if you're an employee of the highway, which obviously I understand, and if the road is under construction at the time.
In January this year, the government announced that it was putting the brakes on any new smart motorway project for 5 years to collect safety data. Now, critics say that 5 years is too long, that the motorways are just too dangerous. Action needs to be taken now, starting with the reinstatement of the hard shoulders.
Well, if you actually break down in a live lane, it is Russian roulette. We would like to see motorways with a hard shoulder, but still using the technology for smart motorways.
National Highways have told North West tonight that they take road safety very seriously and are working within the legal framework. They're spending nearly £400 million to increase the number of emergency or refuge areas.
They're a government body, and it's very easy to say we prioritise safety. The figures, the statistics and the behaviour would suggest to the contrary.
Phil Cunliffe, BBC North West Tonight.
Now, the North West has a new nature reserve, and it's going to be one of the biggest in the country. 3,000 hectares of water, mountain and valley at Ennerdale in the Western Lake District will be turned back over to nature as part of a huge rewilding project. Mark McAlinden's got this report for us.
It's a truly magnificent landscape and one of this region's most remote, home to rare temperate rainforest as well as threatened species such as red squirrels and freshwater mussels. Today its status as a national nature reserve was confirmed by Natural England.
This is a fantastic step towards the long-term protection and enhancement of this fantastic example of nature recovery in England. This place gives me enormous inspiration. Sometimes when you hear about environmental issues, it's all about doom and gloom and a litany of decline. This is about recovery and optimism for the future, a fantastic asset that we're passing on to future generations.
The idea of what's called Wild Ennerdale goes back 20 years, when those working here began to develop a plan to protect it.
It was already a wild place, we just weren't recognising it. As partners in the valley, National Trust and Forestry England came together and realised that there was something special going on, and we talked to the local community, we talked to the farmers, and we started thinking, yeah, there's something really special about this valley. And this was back in a time when rewilding didn't exist as a word in the English language.
Now the reserve is Cumbria's newest and biggest, equivalent to around 4,200 football pitches. The partnership overseeing it is managed by Rachel Oakley.
Well, I'm very lucky to work here. I call this my office, but I love the close connection with nature.
So how will this place change and evolve?
We've restored population numbers around the Arctic charfish that live in the deep waters of the lake. So we're on the right path with wildlife. I think who knows in the future, but we are thinking about potentially bringing beaver back into the landscape. It would be brilliant if we could see pine marten back here. There's lots of science and evidence now with both those species in particular about how they can bring both nature and people benefits. So we'd be really excited about that.
It's hoped this reserve will be a beacon for nature restoration across the country. Mark McAlinden, BBC North West Tonight, Ennerdale.
That's a really beautiful landscape, isn't it? Right, Children in Need is fast approaching Friday. Can't wait. We're gearing up for our Pudsey Dash across the region. Ian Haslam and I will spend the day visiting as many places as we can which have benefited from your generosity in the past year. And thanks to your support, projects like the Moss Side Fire Station Boxing Club make a real difference to the lives of young people.
I've been coming to boxing for about 4 years. I mean, it's like a family to him, so then I've got lots of friends here. And I feel like I'm at home as well. Everyone's like a brother or sister to me here. It's helped me a lot because before I was overweight, so it helped me lose weight and it helped me gain self-confidence, to be honest. Instead of people messing about, like people my age, we've been messing about, in the streets messing about. Instead of doing all that, we're in the gym training, so then we're using our energy in other ways that can benefit us in life later on.
14 years ago, myself and 2 colleagues who are firefighters, were getting Brits en masse in the community, and we discussed setting a boxing club up. So we cater for every aspect of the community. So people who want to be boxers, people who want to be the next Mike Tyson. We also train people who have no intention of boxing, just want to come and get fit, and be the best version of them that they can possibly be.
I've been coming here for nearly a year because it's good exercise and, you know, you can just have a laugh and enjoy it.
You know, when my friends are not going out or whatever, and like, I'll come out, be going training, you know what I mean? So it's really disciplines me, you know, just to stick at it.
People from the Moss Side area maybe have been, you know, looked down on over the years because there's an area of deprivation. So people, the way to get out of it sometimes, they only seem to have one way, and that seems to be crime. That's not the case anymore, you know. We raise the aspiration.
Boxing clubs like this, it helps get kids from, you know, tougher areas, especially Moss Side, to like, you know, it helps them stay off the street and and it really helps them better themselves. It's not just about boxing, it's about the person you can be and like the confidence you can have.
The support that we've received from Children in Need is phenomenal, and it allows us to offer the services that we do to these kids.
For me, it was an opportunity. For other kids, it's an opportunity to get into boxing, get something behind them and up a goal in the end.
I'm proud because I have the courage to come here even though everybody's bigger than me.
Some of our great successes are kids who actually never actually competed in the boxing ring, but now are going to school, and now are, you know, putting into the community.
Simon says jab. Good. Simon says 1, 2.
Thank you in advance. Everything that you're giving for Children in Need this year, as always, and perhaps especially this year. Right, just before Owain, a quick bit of football. Non-league Ashton United have been making the headlines with a cheeky bid to sign the Manchester City striker Erling Haaland during the World Cup. His home country, Norway, failed to qualify. Ashton, just 6 miles from the Etihad, they're in English football's 7th tier. Why not?
He seems a humble guy. He's hard-working. I don't think non-league would scare him off. He's a big, strong lad. Not sure our pitch are doing much favours at the moment with the rain we're having, but he's not far away. He'd be at home twiddling his thumbs, so it all made perfect sense for us. Just for him to acknowledge it, it'd be great for the club. We're going into a 6-week Premier League break now, so for us, we'd love some of these fans, especially the City lot, the United lot, get down to Hurst Cross and potentially watch a game because it's a good level. So hopefully that exposure can get a few more people through the turnstiles for us. Come and play for us. We've got some great people here, do a lot in the community, and he'd be a legend forever.
It'd be great if it happened, wouldn't it? Right, lots of you getting in touch tonight, emails, tweets, for the last time.
Rog.
Owain.
Oh,
darling.
Darling, I can't believe it.
I know. Off to Radio 2 in the new year. Some people are
Yes.
saying, where's he going? What's happening? We didn't know. We announced it a while ago, didn't we? You're off
Yes.
to the early breakfast show on Radio 2.
That's right, starting a new show on Radio 2 in the new year, but this is probably my last weather forecast.
My word.
Let's see.
Get
what
it
it's-
right then.
Oh my God! Well, I hope so. Like, my gosh. Hello, everyone. Thank you for your lovely messages. We've had some unsettled weather, haven't we? Because we've had low pressure nearby. That's going to be sticking around over the next couple of days. But tomorrow we do catch a little bit of a breather. Now, overnight, we see this feature pushing up from the south. We're going to see some rain as part of that. The heaviest of which probably going to be across the Isle of Man and parts of Cumbria. Our temperatures no lower than about 5 or 6 Celsius, but that is lower than what we saw last night. It's still quite breezy out there. Showers continuing across the Isle of Man first thing tomorrow morning, but some sunny spells on offer here as well. Now, elsewhere, I think we'll see more in those sunny spells as opposed to the rain and the cloud that we've seen today. And the winds will ease as well. A couple of showers around, you can see those there. Again, further west, parts of the Isle of Man, maybe parts of Cumbria, seeing them later as well. And tomorrow's high is about 9 or 10 Celsius. Now, the low pressure that I mentioned is going to be sticking around and probably makes more of a return, really, as we look towards the end of the week. So Friday and Saturday don't look dazzling. Thursday looks a bit like this. We're going to see some rain. The winds will pick up again as well. 23 miles per hour there. You can see they're the kind of lowest, really, but we could be above 30 miles per hour in places. And then looking beyond that, it does kind of go up and down a little bit over the next couple of days. So it's still going to be unsettled on Friday, probably a little bit better than Thursday. As for the weekend, plenty of rain icons here on the screen, as you can see. But look at the temperatures. We're probably going to see those temperatures go down a bit over the next couple of days. Of course, at the moment, it is unseasonably mild, both by day and by night. But it is looking like it'll turn a bit colder as we look towards next week. Well, darlings, from me, that's the forecast. Rog.
Well done.
I better hand this to you, I suppose, hadn't I?
Can I have your clicker?
There you go. You can have the clicker.
I won't be using it in anger, I promise. Listen, we've had you for 3 and a bit years.
Oh, my goodness.
You were always destined for even bigger and better things.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Have a look at this.
Oh. Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, hello, everyone. Hello, hello, everyone. Come on, honeys. It's lunchtime. We have to stop off for a quick toilet stop. Not me, one of the dogs. Isn't he handsome? Well, of course he is. He's me. But he's not happy. Do you like my bobble hat? No. I think I should keep it on because I don't want to release what's underneath it.
Come on, Owen.
Oh,
let it go, let it go.
You're ruining my style. But temperatures are rising. High pressure is good. You know, if you like dry weather.
Yeah, all right.
Right.
You can come again.
Hello, horsey. Is this the way to the tower? Hello. Oh, he's got lovely red hair like me, hasn't he?
We've got into evening glamour.
Well, if you know, to just throw the look together, darling, absolutely. Yeah, a bit of sparkle now, you know, for North West tonight. Oh, Rog, it was just amazing seeing all of that.
You made £3 million that day, didn't you?
I still can't believe it, Rog, you know. And just across the road here, wasn't
I know.
it?
But those drums, that was where it all changed. That was where you put yourself to another level. We're getting so many emails, so many tweets from people to say how much they're going to miss you. You've made such an impact on us in such a short space of time. You can say goodnight.
Well, you know, thanks everyone for all of the lovely messages and for just being so supportive from day one when I started here at North West Tonight. I've had the best time. So, yes, I'll be starting Radio 2 in January, but I'm very sad to leave this place. And of course, darling, to be leaving you.
We'll miss you hugely. I'll miss you. But we can listen to you at 4 o'clock in the morning on Radio 2.
I'll be there.
Have a lovely evening.
Bye, everyone.